So we can easily feed 12 billion people if we would just switch to optimal agriculture. The problem is national autonomy stands in the way of that, because the Green Revolution in particular was meant to make India autonomous, not to produce not energy, but food security and so on. I mean, if we would really have a global world food system, affordable prices, of course, so poverty is key here, but you also need to have a guarantee if you're sitting in sub-Saharan Africa, that in the real fertile areas of the world, that's Western Europe, Central Europe, and the eastern part of the United States, food will always be produced. And think of what the North is asking the South to do, namely not to cut down the rainforest, for example, Amazon, Congo, Sulawesi, and so on, Sumatra. In a sense, we would need to have a global deal where in turn of sparing this world heritage of nature, the North would guarantee food production in certain areas. That is only fair, don't you think so? So that would be completely different quality of global deal. Nobody dares to think about that, except myself, because all types of political incorrectnesses will be attached to these types of things, but I told you what the challenge is. 1 Kyoto Protocol per year. How to do it. So finally, I'll switch that. Yeah. In order to confront you, I'm a natural scientist, you are the unnatural scientist. That's the standard joke among physicists. So the social scientists are the unnatural scientists. But of course you aren't, and probably the physicists are the unnatural scientists. But anyway, to confront you with a very practical challenge now. This is a plot everybody should know, in particular the politicians, whether they sit in China or in Germany or in the United States. This is the historical relationship between global mean temperature and sea level. So, on the horizontal axis, you have the global mean temperature. It's about 15 degrees today. And on the vertical axis, you have sea level as compared to today in meters. And what you see that global sea level was 120 meters lower during the maximum of the last ice age, 30,000 years ago, where the world was just 5 degrees colder. And it was 30 million years ago, about 80 meters higher, when the world was just 3 to 4 degrees warmer, which is in the range of the IPCC projection for this century. So if you would just double CO2 in the atmosphere, we will get in equilibrium a sea level rise of more than 50 meters. So forget about what the IPCC tells you, 18 to 55 centimeters during the century and so on. In the long run, it will be in the meters range, in the tens of meters range. And that's a geophysical truth. There's nothing to be done about that. And during this century, it may be, according to recent calculations done by my colleague Stefan Rahmstorff, it may be between 75 centimeters during this century and 1 meter and 90 centimeters. Now think of a conservative estimate would be 1 meter sea level rise during the century, and try to calculate how many people would have to be displaced, would have to migrate, and so on. This is not just a little bit of a social program in order to alleviate the hardships of the economic crisis and so on. This is a global exodus that has to be organized. So here are my sort of practical questions. Dealing with 500 million sea level rise refugees, that's about the realistic number in the long run. So what are we going to do? For example, will we have transboundary relocation schemes where you move people from Bangladesh to West Bengal, then to Pakistan, finally to the Arab communities at the Gulf? Could we think of somebody who has lost his home due to a global green card, entitled to work anywhere he or she chooses to work? And finally, who is going to accommodate these sea level refugees? And only fair and just scheme to do that would be nations, countries have to accommodate people according to their historical emissions of greenhouse gases. So 25% of the sea level refugees would have to be accommodated by the United States, 15% by the UK, 13% by Germany, and so on. I mean, this is mind-boggling, and of course you smile and think, well, this is fairy tale or horror story or whatever, but if these 500 million people have to be moved to somewhere else, how will one do it? And this is just an example of what social and human dimensions of global change have to be managed over the next 3, 4, 5 decades or the next 2 centuries. By the way, sea level will rise by 2 meters whatever we do, because it's already in the system, so in the long run, we will have to move people away from the coastlines. Now, the present development is precisely the other way around. People flock in the coastal regions, of course. They also go to the mountainous areas and the semi-arid areas. That's precisely where they shouldn't be, but we go there. And this is a tremendous squeeze that is building up. So I think, and that is my last word here, as a natural scientist, allow me to say that I think 90% of the research on either managing the transitions like switching of tipping elements and alleviating the impacts of climate change like disruption of the monsoon will have to be done by the social sciences. And also, if we really manage to organize a great transformation, now, today, starting today, convincing the Obama administration, the Chinese administration, the European Union, and all the other countries in the world really to decarbonize our countries. I mean, if we really achieve this great transformation, the wonderful innovations I showed you, like the super smart grid, have to sink into the social fabric, into the social body. The innovations have to be absorbed extremely fast, faster than during the Industrial Revolution. And unless this happens, we simply have to give up on climate change. And I think it's all about the social and the human dimensions in the end, whether we want to embrace these innovations. And that has to be done, by the way, not just top-down, it has to be done bottom-up, it has to be done in myriads of little projects, but it also has to be done by leadership, by the most developed countries. And the developing world cannot just stand by and watch what is going to happen. The truth is, the inconvenient truth, that the industrialized countries have maneuvered themselves into a situation where they cannot solve the problem on their own anymore. Even if we stopped all emissions overnight, no way. So, this is the global challenge. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Schellnhuber. It is almost time for coffee break. We will shorten it slightly, but to 20 minutes, and then convene the next plenary here, the first thematic plenary focusing on the demographic challenges chaired by Laurie Hunter. I would once again like to thank you all for being here. I want to thank all the speakers of this morning session for their contributions. And I want to extend a very special thanks to the artists, Christophe Brigadier and Michael Gates, for being so patient with us this morning and for featuring your beautiful art. Thank you.